Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, the alleged resurrection story of a woman in Banga leaves Cameroonians at home and abroad in total shock and consternation. In this newscast, we get the reactions from all the parties involved. We also talk about the Resurrection Day, the Ascension Day, rather, that is today across the national territory that is being observed as a public holiday in Cameroon. The main message of the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Archdiocese in Yaoundé was to fight against corruption and the preservation of peace across the national territory. Those are headlines. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. It is still a shocking story to Cameroonians in Banga, across the national territory and abroad. The alleged resurrection of a woman in that part of the country that happened a few days ago. Investigations have been ongoing since the incident occurred in that part of the country. In the following report, Babila Jonathan is going to be telling us how the police have been able to investigate and uncover the real story behind the resurrection of a woman in Mbanga, Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon. Let's have the details in the following report.
The news spread like wildfire in Banga, in the littoral region of Cameroon. From one inhabitant to the other, the news of the alleged resurrection of this woman went viral. It was said that she died 5 years ago and has come back to life. But a careful investigation by Equinoxe television has proven the contrary. This man's wife died in 2013 and her mortal remains were buried in Banga. This woman who met Tadugang Duplex Ledoux at his business place where he sells locally produced wine known as Matango is said to have claimed to be his dead wife who has come back to meet her husband. Both of them spent a night together, and Tadugang Duplex Ledoux is said to have told his children, whose mother died when they were still very young, that the lady was their mother. And that is how the news spread all over Banga and Lum in Mongo division through one-to-one communication and mass communication by some media outlets. I saw her and she resembled my late wife. It was just an issue of resemblance. Even on their two national identity cards, they look alike. It was just confusion. I took the picture of his wife and we looked alike. As I stayed with him and took care of his children, he said, I am his wife. It was confusion. My younger sister did not die. Even their names are different and they hail from different parts of the country. The late wife of Tadugang Duplex Ledoux, called Ndokmu Marie-Noël, is from the Manuel division, while the alleged resurrected wife, Niger Corinne, is from the Ndé division. Close relatives of Corinne say she is mentally unstable. She moves around and does some stupid things. She's sick. She is not normal. Sometimes she speaks, sometimes she will not. Sometimes she behaves like a madman. Captain Esaga Bonaventure and his elements from the Mbanga Gendarmerie Command are yet to conclude investigations into the matter.
And the crowd pulling incident in Banga, Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon is still being investigated. We of course will be keeping you informed as soon as we have updates on the matter. A hacker has died after he was beaten to death purportedly by police officer in a Bolova South region of Cameroon. Let's have the details of that shocking story with Rabiatu Aliu.
A crowd of individuals in terror, anger and disgust after a police officer trashed a man to death in Ebolowa, south region of Cameroon.
Les gardes de la ville se sont fâchés qu'un policier a tué un sauveteur.
According to an eyewitness, the man, a hawker, while selling clothes on the street, started making jokes and dancing as usual.
Les passants ont dit que non, le gars si, est-ce qu'il vit encore? Le gars est mort.
In the course of this act, he mistakenly touched the police officer, who went angry and started beating the hawker.
Les gens qui étaient assis ont commencé à emballer leurs choses et prendre fuite.
Nobody intervened, and it was only after that passers-by noticed that he had died.
Ils ont donc commencé à ramasser les tables et les tabourets.
On learning the news, the population in that locality set all shirts on fire to express their anger.
L'enfant même du père est venu. Il dit, ça c'est mon père. Voici mon père ici, couché.
The corpse was taken to a nearby mortuary, but the angry population is still to recover from the incident that led to the death of the hawker.
Ce sont les gens qui doivent nous protéger. Ils ne sont pas là pour nous tuer. Si ils commencent à nous tuer, qui vont nous protéger? On ne doit pas les faire confiance. Ils ont gâté le Cameroun.
We will take all the measures so that the person who has committed this act should respond according to the law.
Authorities of Ebolowa in the south region of Cameroon call on the population to be calm as investigations are ongoing to arrest the alleged killer, a police officer who escaped after committing the murder.
And the population should have confidence in our justice system.
The population can only decry and speak out the abomination which, according to them, is unjust to civilians.
And the Cameroon People's Party, we are now talking politics, has said that it is not taking part in upcoming elections in the country with the current socio-political crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. The president of the Cameroon People's Party that visited Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon, recently said that unless solutions are provided to the Anglophone problem, there is no election within the ranks of the CPP political party. The Cameroon People's Party spoke to media men and women in Bamenda, as we hear with Smart Njekan Gabriel.
The Cameroon People's Party, CPP, won't be part of the 2018 presidential polls in Cameroon. The party's decision not to participate at the elections is due to the multiple irregularities usually observed during elections in the country, and more still the ongoing Anglophone crisis that has caused untold casualties to many persons. The party's leader explains.
We are not going for elections where it is a setup for one person to win. We have been doing that for 30 years. It has not worked. So we are not going in for that. We want an independent electoral commission. We want a good biometric system to register voters. We want a two-round election. All of those things, you know the list, I will not go through it for you. The things that will enable us to say we are having a good and proper election. This going to accompany Mr. Biya, we have done it for so many times. It has not worked.
For CPP, it was an opportunity for them to sit with other political parties to brainstorm on how to send packing the current regime in power.
Our position is actually we would have loved for our political colleagues for us to sit down, because we see these elections for us as an opportunity to push the back of government against the wall, because they want to go to election. They want to show the world that everything is fine in Cameroon, everything is normal, and we can have elections. Good. Since that's what they want, we could push them at this time to discuss some of these fundamental issues.
CPP goes ahead to question the structures of the state.
We cannot move forward from where we are today with the constitution of Cameroon as it is. We cannot. We cannot move forward today with where we are with the National Assembly and so on as it is. We cannot move forward with the Supreme Court that we have today and feel that it will address the problems that have come to light today. We have to reform all of those institutions. And for us, then we can talk about elections.
They are also confused what would have caused the decay of the Anglophone crisis, which hasn't a solution till date.
Whether it is the marginalization that people felt before they started reacting, whether it is actually the use of violence that has now brought us to this stage. The origin is with the regime.
The CPP continues to demand for a transitional government to be put in place rather than the set elections that has been announced.
Our belief is that the regime must allow us to enter political transition, a stage where we can talk to each other, because this regime has now brought us to a stage where people who are from Bafoussam, from Babaju, let me not go far to Bafoussam, Babaju and Bafuju, they are understanding each other when they speak, but now they are looking at each other as you are different and I am different.
EDITH WALLA should be recalled, remains in the record books of Cameroon's political annals as the first lady to challenge Paul Biya in the presidential election.
Stand up for Cameroon initiative that visited some camps as well as individuals hit by the current socio-political crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. The CPP was actually on a solidarity visit to camps of displaced persons, the Bafoussam Palace, and victims of the Anglophone crisis. One of the victims, who traveled from Manfé in Manu division of the southwest region, said that she is homeless and hopeless. She spoke to our reporter in Bamenda. Stella, let's have the translated version of her declarations in the following excerpt.
I be one of the victims from Manfé. That's my asking them. So I come out from Manfé for come here. I can visit my own sister them when I refugee like me.
It has not been easy. I am from Manfé. I have been through a lot. What have I not seen since this crisis began? Look at my body.
School need to go on. I don't know what to do. Even if one way of living, you know, even day for Manfé all bad very badly. We are not even sure for town. I come go to village. They feel people street.
And there, we are not allowed to move even in broad daylight. The atmosphere there is very chaotic. I have been through thick and thin. Businesses are not moving. Nothing is going well in Manfé.
I don't go prison for this matter. My release is one. I don't come out. I don't burn my house.
Have even been locked up as a result of this crisis. My family is divided. I don't even know where some of my brothers and sisters are. I'm really hoping that this crisis should come to an end.
And I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk, so that the government will hear me too as I dey on air. Me know which way would pass through for Manfé. Thank you.
And the national president of the CPP, EDITH WALLA, who is just coming back from Bamenda, is going to be a guest in the second part of this newscast. Now, according to Christian belief, Jesus Christ's ascension to heaven is today. The day observed as public holiday across the national territory comes 40 days after Easter Sunday, the day that Jesus Christ resurrected from death. On Ascension Day, Christians gather in different churches across the national territory for the Ascension Mass, which is a reminder of the glorious and triumphant return of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. At the Metropolitan Archdiocese in the nation's capital, the Archbishop, His Lordship Jean Baga, hit hard on corruption and embezzlement, stressing on that greed is sin before God. He urged Christians to have the spirit of solidarity. The Archbishop also prayed for the preservation of peace across the national territory. Archbishop Jean Baga actually spoke to our reporter in Yaoundé, Marcel Ngangsop. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
This ascension of our Lord Jesus Christ means for us today great solidarity in the social ascensions for everybody. I call you, all the faithful, all the citizens, all the elite people, to do what we can to help the others to grow and to help everybody to find life in our situation now. And I invite also the other people to be respectful for those who are the leaders. They must be respected, because we cannot do social ascension without social communion.
And on our advertorial page tonight, Orange Cameroon is continuing with its efforts to promote young fashion designers in Cameroon and within the African continent. It recently organized an international fashion event in the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea, as we see in the following story.
A show of Africa's colors at the Fredash International Annual Fashion Avenue, FIFA 2018, in Cameroon's Southwest Regional capital, Buea. Orange Cameroon is the author of this platform to showcase African fashion in view of promoting young fashion designers across the continent.
My 2018 platform of FIFA, it's a nice one, representing the color of Africa. I believe that we are taking Cameroon to another level of fashion. We are taking Cameroon to another level of entertainment. I would so much believe that with platforms like these, we are going to take Cameroon around the world. Well, as fashion burns, in as much as when we attain goals and dreams in life, we always love to attain more. In as much as I find myself on this platform from FIFA 2018, I always want to find myself on other platforms in Cameroon and international platforms.
The mobile telephone company is using fascinating outfits designed by Africans to promote the diverse cultures of Cameroon and the rest of the continent.
The CEO, Frederick Debord, who sent me to represent Orange to this magistral event. Culture is an extremely important part of any civilization and any population, and for us Orange, we would like to give it back to our community. So it's very important for us to be present wherever our customers can feel their happiness, and that's why we are here today, to show our support to promote Cameroonian culture and to show that there is a lot from the Southwest region that can be shown and that can be really exported. So yes, we are really dedicated in working hand in hand with the Southwest region and the rest of the country to make sure that we promote the culture and all the good stuff that we have in every part of the country.
And this is yet another side of the continent's rich cultural heritage being promoted at the fashion show in Buea. The platform is a marketplace for designers to sell their creativity.
FIFA is, I can say, our greatest platform for the designers, for the domain of designing. And we expect every year, because it gives the opportunity to the designers of this area to showcase what they have, to have a ceremony for them. And then I think this event contributes to showcase Southwest in all its aspects.
Through the international fashion show, Orange Cameroon is empowering young people in their various areas of passion, talents, skills, and creativity.
We will empower them and we will encourage others. So you see, we bought our industrial sewing machines for the winner, the winning competition. We have been doing this for the past 4 years now. So it's another part of empowerment. This is the last place that I know it's student slides.
In Buea, the best fashion designer was awarded an industrial sewing machine. The organizers are looking forward to greater exploits with focus on young Africans.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Time for us to meet our guests tonight. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you once again, ladies and gentlemen. We have as guest tonight the National President of the Cameroon People's Party, EDITH Kawala. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here as usual. A big hello to all of the people in the Southwest and Northwest regions that we just left. our hearts are with you, and a lot of courage.
You have just said it, you returned from the Northwest region. You visited Batibo, Bamenda, the camps that are hosting some displaced persons, and other several localities. You even went to the Fons Palace in Bafut to take stock of the situation, the devastating consequences of the Anglophone crisis. Now, you also realize that the doors of many private and public schools are closed. Tell us how you felt when you met these discoveries.
Yes, we went up as mothers of the nation. So we were about 30 women that took this trip. And I can tell you that that was one of the most devastating things for us. We have been given the impression in Douala and Yaoundé that for the most part, school is going on okay. So we were shocked to see schools with grass maybe 2-3 meters high, showing you that no child has been in that school for months today. We talked with the proprietors. The Fon of Bafut himself is a school proprietor, and he told us very clearly his 2 schools is about 1,400 students. The schools are closed. We went round Bafut. Only the government school is functioning. And even the government school is functioning with a much reduced population. So even where schools are open, because we also met with the Archbishop of Bamenda to find out what is the situation of the Catholic schools. He told us the Catholic Church has decided to keep the schools open, but there are no students. The students are not coming. And he explained that even where the schools are functioning, you take a school like Sacred Heart that had 800 students, they are functioning today with 400. You take schools like Lord's that had 700 students, they are functioning today with less than 50%. Even the government schools are functioning with less.
And with high heavy military
and
presence.
Yes, very, very heavy military presence around the government schools.
The government actually promised to provide security in some of these schools. Do you think that these other schools are not open because there is no adequate security?
We cannot take a band-aid to cure cancer. This is impossible. It is impossible for the government to guard every school. It is impossible. The schools will reopen when we have been able to reduce the tension in the region and begin to address the problems of Anglophone rights, Anglophone marginalization that were at the origin of this situation. The schools will reopen when government has released people who were unjustly and unfairly arrested. There has been unfair and unjust arrest of over 1,000 people. It is when you release those people. It is when you show government has said we are in possession of Sisiko, Ayub Tabe, and other leaders of the secessionist movement.
In Nigeria.
The law of Cameroon says when you arrest somebody, immediately they have a right to legal assistance. The fact that these people the government declared months ago that these people are in their position and that they have not been seen, it means that they are followers, and they have followers. We know that. Their followers are going to be agitated and excited until they see their leaders. Why does the government of Cameroon not follow the law of Cameroon?
The law has to be respected. Many human rights lawyers have called for that.
Yes.
Lawyers, common law lawyers,
yes,
and the national and international community. You visited the camps hosting displaced persons in Batibo, precisely in Ewo. You were equally in Kwen,
yes,
as we saw in reports on Equinoxe television just a few hours ago. What was your observation?
This, I think, was the most difficult for us that we saw on the field. One is that there are tens of thousands of displaced persons. Those to whom we tried to ask for an estimate, they could not give us an exact estimate, but they felt that there are somewhere between 100,000 to 150,000 people displaced throughout the region. Now, in Ewo, to give you an example, Ewo itself is a village of less than 300 people. over 700, they have 795 displaced persons that they are hosting. We went to Nkwem. We met one mother, an extraordinary woman. She herself is a widow. She is blind. She has opened up her home. There are over 44 people in her home. And we were told that this is going on all over in Bamenda, that there are many villages hosting displaced people.
And many compounds hosting. What are some of the reasons why they actually had to escape?
So,
because if they are not feeling safe in their homes, it means there's a problem.
Yes.
What is the cause of?
Yes, so these people have left their homes. In every instance, there was an incident by those whom we assume to be the separatists or armed forces, or named armed groups, who either, in the case of Batebo, let me go with that one, there was the kidnapping of the GO and the kidnapping of the delegate. So what happened after that? Now the army came in to these villages, we suppose looking for those who had been kidnapped, but they came in indiscriminately. Every report we had is consistent. The army comes in indiscriminately with extreme force, breaking down doors, beating people with the butts of the gun, burning certain homes, and people are just have to flee. Most of these people you are now seeing in a village or in a home, they have first spent 3, 4, 5 nights in the bush.
They don't feel safe in their home.
They do not feel safe in their home. Sometimes the people told us that people have even come back, government officials have come back, told them that they should come back to their village, told them that it was safe. They came back. They slept for 1 night, 2 nights. The army came again. So these people are completely traumatized. And what we saw is that the trust between them and the government as a whole is completely broken. They admit that the acts which are committed are horrible. The killing of a gendarme, nobody will agree with that, and some of the gendarmes being killed are from the region itself. They agree that a kidnapping is horrible, but you cannot, for something that was committed by 1 or 2 individuals, come and punish thousands of people and put them in a situation where they have to leave their farms, they have to leave their homes, they have
them to unknown localities,
and they are fending for themselves. There's no government place that they go to where they will get assistance.
Apart from asking the people to return to their homes by government authorities, what has the government been able to do so far? You were on the field, you spoke to them.
We spoke even to the governor.
What
yes,
the government has been able to do to take care of them and ensure them of their protection and their security. What has the government been able to do so far?
No, the government is telling them. The government is, what we saw is that government is using words where action is needed. Government is telling them you are safe. Government is telling them come back to your villages. But you don't tell me with your mouth something that your actions do not corroborate. So what we have seen is that the people don't believe government. I'm sure sometimes government may have good intentions, but the people no longer believe what the government is saying to them, because it is those government forces which drove them from their village. And when we saw it, when the authorities are talking to the people, they are not dialoguing. They are not listening to the people. They are not, really hearing what the people are saying. And they are giving directives.
You don't expect dialogue to come from below when many are expecting dialogue to come from above.
We as mothers of the nation, we had a suggestion which we gave to the governor of the Northwest region, is that dialogue can be at several levels. Okay. We don't have to have dialogue only at the national level. At the local level, they can have a practical dialogue. Before the governor bans motorbikes, why not bring the funds, the church, the associations round the table to say we are considering this kind of action for your protection? Yes, so that they can exchange, and then those people too can tell government, do it this way, do it that way. Instead of everything being as if it is an order from above, the population just has to match. It's not going to work.
Now, from every indication, the economic impact It's enormous. I saw the outing of the Secretary General of the CPP that was actually stating the number of jobs lost so far as a result of the crisis. Teachers that are unable to go to work, businesses that have crumbled, the high rate of unemployment, and what the government has incurred so far, as far as the crisis is concerned. How has this been able to affect the economy of the region?
In the northwest region, what we saw, the economy is catastrophic. We spoke to market traders. They are today in 1 year making 5-10% of what they usually used to make. They are unable to meet up with their bills. They are unable to pay their rents. School, I forgot to mention that some parents want to send their children to school. They don't have the school fees to do it. The few schools where that are open, the proprietors told us parents are struggling to be able to pay the fees. So the economic situation is catastrophic, and most importantly, we must realize that what we are doing is creating recruits for those who have decided to take up an armed struggle. Because if you put a young man in a situation, boys were talking to us, I used to have 2 jobs, now I am completely unemployed. The teachers in all of these schools which have been closed are unemployed. So now, if that person stays unemployed for some time, guess what? Somebody is going to recruit him. We will have a bigger problem on our hands.
This is the reason why the CPP doesn't want to take part in the elections, looking at the chaotic atmosphere in the 2 Anglophone regions.
This is, the CPP has decided not to take part in elections under the current conditions. We are for elections. We are for democracy. We believe in good elections that will allow us to have change in this country. Right now, what I have just described to you, what I want to know, with an election about 4 or 5 months away, how are the people in Kembong going to vote? Those 795 people in Ewo who have left behind their ID cards, their voters cards and so on, how are they going to vote? These hundreds of thousands of displaced, how are they going to vote? The 50,000 in Nigeria, how are they going to vote? How are we supposed to carry out campaigns? We went to Batable and everybody was shocked that we were able to make it in and out of there safely.
Finally, what is the CPP proposing as a solution?
How will we do that? For the CPP, the solution is clear. You know that we have talked about political transition from time. This regime is responsible, has been at the heart of this problem, has aggravated the problem, and will continue to aggravate it if we don't bring it to an end. The regime must go, 1. Number 2, we must enter political transition and have this dialogue. The dialogue about what is the nature of our state as Cameroonians. How do we live together as Francophones and Anglophones, as Bamidekes and Bafuchus, and so on and so forth? How do we live together? On the basis of that, we must decide the form of the state. Will we be a federation? How many state federation? And so on. This is what we have to decide together. And then reform our institutions to correspond to that idea. Reform the constitution, reform the judiciary, reform the army. This army is a colonial army. That is what we saw on the field. This army is not designed to protect the citizen. It is the leftover of what the colonizer left. An army that punishes, an army that represses, an army that acts for the interests of those in power, not for the interests of the population. We have to reform it. And for us, it is after reforming that, including our electoral system, that we talk about elections for the new leaders of the country.
Thank you so much, Edith WALLA, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope to have you some other time again.
Always a pleasure.
That is Edith WALLA, returning from Bamenda Northwest region of the country, where she actually visited Batibo and other camps hosting displaced persons as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned, joining us tonight on Talking Point. They're bringing us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.